Yeah, we're just getting started. All right, we're live. Good morning, everybody. This is Billy Parrott, Billy and B Town Meridian Real Estate, and I am here. Look at Travis has already joined. What's up, Travis? In the building. I said, "Are you going to join today?" And he's like, "I'm going to try." I'm with my special guest, Becky Biggins. She is the deputy fire marshal here in Billings.
A deputy fire marshal.
She's not a deputy fire marshal. And I forgot my microphone. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, so my name is Becky Biggins. I work for Billings Fire. I've been with Billings for about 6 years. It'll be 6 years here in a minute. Big, beautiful blended family. We've got 5 kids together, and yeah, just busy.
Busy.
Pretty much.
That's awesome. Very cool. So how did you get started? How did you become a fire marshal?
So all of us at Billings Fire who are in the fire marshal's office, we start in suppression, so right in the big red toolbox. I was 32 when I started with Billings Fire, and I was pregnant actually with my 3rd baby when I decided I wanted to be a firefighter at all. I was 27 and very pregnant, and decided I wanted to do that, which was
okay. But what made you decide to do that?
Well, and this is all it's all going to tell you. So when
I cannot imagine being pregnant and saying, I want to go fight fires. I love that.
When I was really little, I always wanted to be a firefighter because I was super scared of fire.
Oh.
And we had this awesome program. I'm from Calgary. And all the firefighters came into the schools and would talk to us about fire prevention, fire safety, and it helped me feel better. And so I always had this spark, this interest. But I also knew I wanted to be a mom, and I didn't see those as being compatible careers. Mm-hmm. So my degree is actually in photography. And I do quite a bit of photography, not as much anymore with my current job, but that's what I did beforehand professionally. So then I was pregnant with Belle, and I still had that interest, that desire. So I started heading that direction. It took me about 5 years to get my body ready, mind ready, get ready to be able to do that, and then get enough experience that I could get a job with Billings Fire. So so that was where I started. I was in suppression for almost 4 years. Riding primarily for a long time. I was on Engine 4 by Terry Park, and then decided that I wanted to go into the Fire Prevention Bureau. So when they interview you, oftentimes you'll get asked a question like, after 20 years in your career, 25-year career with Billings Fire, what do you want to do for the department? What would your legacy be? And I had said at that time, I really care about that public education, just because it's what had sparked my interest in being a firefighter in the first place.
Right.
So I wanted to do that. And then through being in the department, I realized that meant that I would need to be in the Fire Prevention Bureau because we handle a lot of our public education stuff, like the coordination. So after 4 years, I put in for a position in the Bureau. So there's a fire marshal, an assistant fire marshal, and then 4 deputies. And we all have some similar duties and then some little individualized things that we do. And so my focus, my specialization is the public education and community risk reduction stuff.
So basically going into the schools and educating like how you learned about the whole fire safety.
That's a piece of it for sure. Okay. Yeah. So it's as fire marshals, what we do, we're fire investigators. So when a structure fire or certain vehicle fires come up, then we go in and do an origin and cause investigation to figure out where and how it started. So that's something that we all do. And then we're building inspectors for fire code safety.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so I drive my family crazy because I still will go out shopping or places, even if we're not in Billings. I'm like, that's a violation.
Oh no,
they can't block that exit. Mom. Anyway, just get a little bit irritating with that stuff.
Sure. So you're probably not everybody's favorite person.
I think our office does a pretty good job at working with people to make sure that the public understands the issues, that the business owners understand the issues, so that we're like, all of us want to keep people safe, right? Yeah, and so the contractors, the business owners, everybody wants the people who come in to be able to be safe. And fire codes always say that it's like written in blood, right? Like the reason we have the codes that we do is because there was an incident, right? Somebody got hurt. And so, so yes and no. Like we work together very well. We're not like the fire police. Yeah. So we do that. And then all new business inspections, we go in and we do those things. Complaints or concerns, we'll go in and evaluate and see if there's anything that we need to address. And then the public education is different, for adults as well as for students. So we'll do lots of different public education programs. And then community risk reduction is kind of a new way of talking about and looking at fire prevention and things that we
Yeah.
can do there. So essentially, if you're doing a thorough community risk reduction program, it's all data driven. So you're looking at the numbers. What are the problems that we're having in Billings, in your own community, wherever you're doing those analyses, and looking at metrics to make sure that the programs that we're developing and putting in place are the most effective and the most beneficial to the community to help those safety end goals. So we look a lot, and we have some phenomenal people who work with us who are good with that data and able to look through and figure out what needs more time and attention and how we can do things better.
What would you say is the biggest issue that you're seeing in Billings, like as far as fires, like are people just, maybe space heaters or, something like that? What's the biggest cause of fires?
So Billings, just like anywhere else, the most common location that fire started is in the kitchen. So
Okay.
national standards, and we follow that trajectory, we're about half of all fires, because there's a bunch of stuff that gets hot next to things that can burn, right? Sure. So looking at kitchen fires, we've been in conversations about how we can help better educate people about the hazards. I mean, the most common thing is that people leave things unattended, right. Or that they're not keeping their spaces as clean as they need to be. And I think having more conversations about what we can do to keep our home safe is helpful.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to develop a program, and I want to talk about the elementary stuff later on, but I'm looking forward. I really like the idea of getting more involved in education, and I've talked to a couple of the principals about this at the schools, but getting into the Empower classes and the family consumer sciences in high school, when those kids are learning how to cook, kind of targeting that audience and getting a little more safety information. So that's something we have in the works right now as well, where we're trying to head that direction.
So would you recommend, like, people that are watching, to prevent a fire to maybe have, like, how many fire extinguishers or fire alarms or whatever?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things is smoke alarms. So smoke alarms save lives. There's no reason anybody in Billings doesn't get to have smoke alarms. So we have a good collaboration, a good partnership with the Red Cross.
Oh.
I've got a cabinet full of smoke alarms. So if you're a primary occupant of a home, a primary resident, like obviously if you're renting, the landlord should be providing those things and taking care of it. But if you're in need of smoke alarms, call Billings Fire. You can just call the main number and they'll direct you to my office, and we'll come in and evaluate and install smoke alarms if you need them in your home free of charge. So you're supposed to have one smoke alarm per sleeping area, right? One in the room itself.
Oh, and then, in the room itself.
Okay, that's ideal. And then one per floor per common area as well.
Oh, okay.
We try to not put them around the kitchen. I don't know about you.
I was wondering about that. Like, should you have them in the kitchen?
We try to move it away. So my family knows this. When I'm making street tacos, you have to fry the corn tortillas. You have to. It's the only way to do it.
Yep.
And I always use cast iron, and my kitchen gets smoked up every time. And so we prep the house. We make a flow path and put fans in the right windows and get ready, because I'm going to get smoke in the kitchen. And sometimes it still travels down the hall, and I'll get that smoke alarm. My kids make fun of me, but
that's fun.
The price you pay for good tacos.
Yeah, my husband will attest to this. When I cook, I'm burning something. Something's going to get burnt, right? If I had a smoke alarm in my kitchen, it'd be going off all the time. So would you recommend them putting like a smoke alarm maybe more in the dining space or in the hallway near the kitchen?
Every home's different. Just one per common area per floor, and based on what's there.
And keep it away from the kitchen.
Maybe not right in the kitchen or right in a bathroom, because steam from a bathroom right outside the door, sometimes people will have trouble with that as well. So that's something we want to educate people on. If they need those smoke alarms, that's a resource that we have available. That we want to be able to get in the hands of everybody. So well, since we're talking about education, why don't you go ahead and talk about the elementary? So we have done some different things with Billings Fire throughout the years, and you and I talked before. I moved around a lot and lived in different cities, and everybody does these things a little bit differently. But one of the things that was really important to me and has been important to the fire chief and the fire marshal moving forward is that we have more interactions with those kiddos. So what we've done in years past that's been effective and good is to have this assembly. So all the second graders will come down to the Lincoln Center and get a fire safety assembly. If you guys have kids in that age demographic, you've probably been through that in recent years. It's different during COVID. We had to do it remote. But anyway, so that's been fun and successful. But doing some research and collaborating with other departments who are doing things. I found kind of a new system that I was hoping to introduce to the community, and school district 2 has been really awesome about inviting us into to try this new system. So the theory behind it, the philosophy behind this system is that assemblies are super fun and sparkly, but maybe there's more that we can be doing to deliver that education, right? That kids retain the information better when they're able to get it through multiple sources, when they're in smaller groups, when they get to be up and moving while they're learning, right? All of these things. So what we're doing, we're partnering with School District 2 to actually put fire safety into the curriculum. So I'm working with curriculum directors over there. They've been awesome to work with. So it's based off of the latest NFPA standards for education for different age groups. And there's a scaffolded lesson plans for the different age groups. K1 will have a curriculum, 2, 3, and 4, 5 that are age appropriate messages. So they're going to get that delivered primarily through the librarians. The schools will have a little bit of leeway on how they want to do that, but they'll get that lesson that we're helping develop with the school district initially in the classroom setting. And then we'll follow that up with a visit to the schools where, again, we're seeing every kid K through 5 at the school, and they'll get to run through station base. So the younger kids will see a firefighter put on their full gear and take it off, and have that firefighters are our community helpers friends message to understand what they may see in the event of an emergency and not let that scare them.
I love that.
So that's going to be pretty cool. Every kid K through 5 has some version of a home escape course that they're physically going to be running through. We're building little door props and a little smoke curtain where they're going to be moving and talking about it. And then they're encouraged to go home and talk to the adults in their households about the safety plans and what they need to be doing there. When my kid was little, Lily was little and she saw some firefighters, she came home and reminded me, we don't have a meeting place. This was before I was in the profession. So that was good for the kids to come in and remind us, because sometimes as adults, it's not, you know, we've got everything else going on between work and all of it. So they're then encouraged to go home and talk about that. But it's gonna be a good program. We're actually piloting 8 schools this spring.
Okay.
And then the intention and goal, if it's as successful as we think, then we want to go ahead and do all 22 next year if we can. That's
great.
But the schools have just been super welcoming and excited to pilot the program. And then the best part about it is we've got pre and post testing, so we can look, like we talked about, community risk reduction and those metrics, right? So we'll be able to see how much they're learning through the program, and then year to year how much they're retaining, so that we can continue advancing the program and making sure we're not having gaps that we're not aware of. So it's gonna be cool.
So on that note, you were talking about the education side. So I've heard through a few other people that are like EMS, they say to have your door shut at night. Why is that?
Okay, so even a hollow core door under certain circumstances can keep fire out of a bedroom for up to an hour, right? Like fire needs, so we talk about the basics, the tetrahedron now, but the fire triangle originally. Fuel, heat, and oxygen to start and to sustain, right? And then the other piece being that nothing is going to inhibit that chemical chain reaction that's going on for combustion. So oxygen's it's such a big piece of it. So we want people to sleep with their doors closed, because it's very rarely that a fire is going to start in a bedroom. That's an odd place for a fire to start, right? Especially in a house. And we had talked about things you can do to keep your space fire safe. Cleanliness is huge. It's huge because then you're not having combustibles too close to things that get hot. If there is a problem with electric, you're more likely to be aware of it in advance if you can see the outlets. So we want people to keep their spaces clean. It also helps with trip hazards and fall hazards. Like, just the more tidy and organized we can keep our spaces, the safer they are, right? You're in the home industry, so we want people to be safe in their homes. So anyways, I just went off on a tangent about that. This is always funny. Whenever I talk to school age kids about this, their parents always thank me because I tell them, go home and clean your room. Like, it's actually a safety issue. It's not just because your parents want to make you do stuff. Like,
it's true though, especially garages, right?
For sure. Everything. Like, we just need to keep our spaces clean. I've been on, personally, as a firefighter in Billings, 3 fires where people keep too many things on their kitchen counters, and they use the toaster as a place to stack things, and then they shove things up against the toaster oven, and where there's been like a burning smell because there was just stuff pressed up against where it didn't need to be. So it ended up turning the heater on or the toaster on. So anyway, I have gone way off.
No, this is perfect. Candles. Thoughts on candles? Is that a big cause of fire?
It's a cause of fires for sure. Again, cleanliness and paying attention, being
and
aware,
not leaving them
and not leaving them. It's like unattended cooking, right? So you don't want it next to things that can burn, and you don't want to walk away and leave it getting hot. No, I can think of at least one within the last year that we've had here in town that was candle caused.
Really? Because I've heard some that just like explode because you think, oh, it's safe, it's on a little plate, but then it explodes, and maybe, like you said, if there's paper nearby, it triggers that to start the fire.
For sure. Another one, and this is my PSA because I investigated a fire recently where this was a problem where. So have you ever not been able to find the right charger for something?
Yes.
And so you start looking around for a different charger, right? The problem is the chargers are designed for the devices that they're intended use for. So we've had, I've seen a problem where somebody used a charger for something that was a different amperage than the device that they were charging, and that ended up causing a fire as well. Just because it looks the same and because you can get it to light up when you connect it doesn't mean that it's going to be safe.
That's a good tip.
It's a PSA.
Yeah. You're just like, I just need a charger.
Right.
Let's see. Someone asked a question. Are you able to take your fire prevention education to other school districts outside of Billings?
So I think that's a great question. Even within Billings, we had this conversation the other day where we're starting with school district 2, but we have other schools in Billings that are not. And so we're piloting the 8 schools this year, and then we're hopefully going to all 22 next year, and then of the school district 2 schools. Right. But then the intent and goal is to offer it to the other schools that are not within the school district.
Okay.
Within town certainly. And see, we mostly, because we are responsible for our Billings community, we keep the majority of our resources here. We want to be here and available for those in Billings who are paying tax dollars to us in Billings.
Right.
But where we can help and assist in our neighboring communities, we like to where we can.
Yeah, because like Laurel has their own fire department.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we can rewind a little bit, you talked about investigation of fires and how it started. That is always like something that interests me. Like, how do you go to school to do that? Like, to figure out this is how the fire started. Like, how do you figure that out?
Yeah, so we have lots of ongoing training. We have within our fire prevention bureau just years of experience. And so when you're starting, there's a little bit of hand holding that goes on, right? Where you're learning that. I've done courses through the IAAI, International Association for Arson Investigators. I actually am going to Maryland for some follow-up education for a 2-week course. I'll be in Maryland for 2 weeks this spring for some more investigation training. So we're constantly training. And then once you have different certifications, there's a certain amount of training you have to do every year to get the latest and what's going on.
Okay.
And make sure that you're keeping your CV up to.
That's always just been interesting. Like, how do you figure that out? Like the investigation part of it.
It's one of my favorite parts of the job. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
So fires, it's unpredictable. And so you have to learn to look at fire patterns and figure out what those mean. And sometimes you'll get fire patterns based off of where a fuel package was or where it started, or you can get ventilation patterns. So we're trained to look for and tell the difference between fire patterns, whether it was caused because the air was flowing this way, right? So we look at the weather and we look at what doors were open or closed.
Oh, wow.
And closed doors, that's where I went off on my tangent. We're talking about closed doors.
Yes. If
you ever have to leave the house in case of a fire, shutting the door absolutely can save property as well, because then you're not leaving the front door open and allowing more oxygen into the fire.
Good to know, because I'd probably just be like, I'm out of here.
Well, before we studied fire science the way that we know as much as we do about it now, and it's ever evolving. We're always studying. The fire service as a whole is studying and looking at it. One of the common practices, and there's different reasons that they used to do this as well. I won't get into it in too much depth, but they go around and break windows, right? And to let the smoke clear, to let the smoke lift. That was kind of the part of that philosophy. But what you're doing then is introducing a ton more oxygen into that space, which fire needs to grow and spread.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So oxygen's a huge part of a fire.
Absolutely. We've had a couple fires in town within the last 5 years that I can think of where a fire occurred and wasn't discovered until later because either no one was home or was incapacitated and the doors were shut enough that the fire became vent limited and actually self-extinguished, right?
Oh.
So if it happens in the middle of the night and there's no one to witness the smoke kind of wisping out of the house or whatever is going on, and then and it'll actually put itself out if it's in a tight enough space. It's just like putting a lid on a candle, right? And that candle will go out when you limit the amount of oxygen that it has access to.
So is that why when they say like, so say you have you're grilling up the tacos and you have a fire, right? You don't use water. You're just supposed to like put maybe a lid on top of
For
it.
sure. You're removing oxygen. We also don't ever want to put water in a grease fire because we're throwing a liquid into a liquid, which might cause a splashback. And in addition to that, the ratios, and I want to make sure I get this right, but like at boiling temp, water expands when it becomes steam. So 1 droplet of water expands at boiling temperature to 1,700 times its size and volume.
Oh, wow.
And then when you're talking like 1,000 degrees, which is, hot grease fire could be around there, it's I think 4,200 times its size that it expands to. So that steam conversion can be pretty volatile when it's happening like that. So the best thing you can do if you have a fire in your house is to remove that oxygen, that heat source. So if there's a turkey in the oven, invariably, somebody, you see fire in your house, you don't want fire in your house.
Right.
So it seems we have these instances that happen periodically where somebody has a grease fire and they want to get it out of the house, but then they're taking hot grease that potentially is spread.
Yeah.
Or the best thing you could do, if it's safe, is to cover it, to turn off the heat source, to leave the oven closed, to turn off the heat source.
Okay.
If you have any question about whether or not you can do that safely, get out of the house, shut the front door, and call 911. We don't want anybody to try to put out a fire if they don't feel that it's a safe circumstance. But if you're in your kitchen and it's this little incipient fire and you see it, the best thing you can do is to remove that heat and oxygen.
Okay. Yeah. And speaking of turkeys, since Christmas is around the corner, I love I shouldn't say love, but it's entertaining to watch those videos. What do you call those turkey fryers where people are popping the turkey?
The deep fryer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you see much of that happening in Billings where it's causing fire?
I have never been to a turkey fire, but I bet if you pulled to the department, you'd have people who had experienced that.
Okay.
So yeah, it is an issue. And the reason it is, there's multiple things. So people sometimes they'll fill the grease too high. And so then when they put the turkey in, either they do it too fast and it splashes, or there's just too much liquid. And so they put it in, it'll spill over into that flame and cause an issue. So if you're going to do that, we want you to be a non-windy day out on a flat level surface away from combustible materials. Make sure you do your measurements properly beforehand and lower it slowly. Okay. And then in addition to that the turkey is very dry and not frozen, so that there's not that water reaction.
Yes. I don't know. I'm like, I can never do it.
It's so delicious. Have you never tried it? I've never made one, but I've got to.
Is it good?
It's so good.
Is it?
It's so good. You just need to do it very carefully. And the NFPA officially does not recommend it. It's not recommended.
Not recommended, folks. But it tastes really good.
I'm not recommending it.
Wink, wink.
Just do it safely if you do it.
So, what are the most challenging aspects of your job?
So I think the fatality fires, that's always going to be kind of the trickiest thing. I really enjoy what I do. I feel like I'm in the right role where I can affect change, and I'm under an administration that's just incredibly supportive. So anytime I have something that comes up, I'm thinking about this, I get that. Yeah. Go ahead, give it a try, see if that works when it comes to that educational world, which has been amazing, right? To be able to work under that. But fatality fires can be tricky. Just like those are kind of the hardest things when you're running calls, when you're on suppression. I miss running calls. I miss getting to that a little bit. That's been kind of a transition for me. And I think that's fairly universal amongst the people who work in my office, from what I've heard, that there's this certain element where that's running those standard calls. But I really like what I do. It's pretty fun.
That's awesome. So what does a day in the life look like for you?
So we always say when we're talking to new prospective people who want to be firefighters that the best part about the job is that no 2 days are the same.
Right.
It's
like real estate.
just like real estate. It's the same in our office. It's different. So we have days where there's a bunch of new buildings. Today there's a ton of finals going in. We're growing. There's new businesses, and so those new buildings, before they can get their certificate of occupancy on a new construction commercial building, there are all these inspections that go on. So the mechanical department, the engineering, electrical, building inspectors, fire inspectors, we all go out and we do we do it with plumbing inspectors. We all go out and we make sure that the building's going to be safe, that it's up to code, right? So we go through and we do it. And our office had it just today. There's a ton of inspections going on. So everybody I work with is running around, and I get to sit here and talk to you and have coffee, which is also lovely. But then later in the day, we're going to keep doing inspections. So it just depends. If there's 5 of us who are in the regular rotation for doing fire investigations, and you're on call 24/7 during those times. Okay. So I was on call last week. Somebody else is this week. So if a fire comes on, then everything gets dropped. And then that's the thing that we'll go out and do those. Okay. I have a training course that you asked about what our ongoing training is. Yeah. I'm working on getting a new certification for plans examiner test to make sure that I've got a study course. So when I have extra time this afternoon, I'm going to be at my desk just doing work. And then I am a canine handler.
Yeah, tell us about, because your picture, I loved your picture with the puppy, and I'm sure everybody, that's why they're like, I
He's the cutest puppy. Yeah. And he's not with me today. I'm sorry. He's 2. I was telling her this morning, he's 2 years old and he's doing great, but he's forever trying to just become a more mature adult dog. And he's going to be on your lap if we're here. And
I was wanting to give you snuggles.
So, I mean, he'll sit. He's a good boy. He doesn't shed. That's the best part about Wilson.
Even better.
So the last two departments that I had gone to, one just to visit a friend in South Metro area in Denver, and then Altoona, Wisconsin. I actually went there for an arson investigation, a fire investigation training. They had therapy dogs at the fire department. I thought it was super cool. So the whole philosophy behind the therapy dog thing is that for people who like dogs, which is the majority of us. Yeah.
Who doesn't like dogs?
Some people, but most of us like dogs. So if you like a dog, just physically putting your hands on a dog. There's Johns Hopkins, Harvard Medical School, all these schools have done research. Yeah, just petting a dog. The act of that will reduce your blood pressure, reduce your respiratory rate and heart rate, reduce your cortisol and adrenaline levels, and then increase your serotonin oxytocin. So we have a physical reaction, right, when we pet dogs. So just having a pup around for people who are interested to reach out and pet the dog helps. And as firefighters, sometimes we can be kind of a high stress bunch. You know, you have those alarms going off all the time and we get these adrenaline spikes. Yeah. So the theory behind it is that we have a dog around that we can just take a minute to calm down. The cool part about Winston, because he's with me, Winston.
I love that name.
Because he's with me and I do our public education, I'm utilizing him in schools. So I haven't taken him to the school district yet, but I've been using him in some preschools. A few of them have had visits from him. And so we talk about checking a door for heat before you open it. Like if you're a smoke alarm in the middle of the night, right? We want you to check the door first. So we'll have him go like check a door, and he'll check a door, and he's learning stop, drop, and roll. And then
are you serious?
It's so cute. It's my favorite. Wow. And the kids are so nice because he's young and he's still learning these tricks, and they're not that impressive, but the kids think it's so impressive. And it's the cutest thing. One of the things is leave it. He's really good at a leave it command, right? So he's very highly food motivated, but we can tell him leave it. He gets that. No, but we'll put treats down and say leave it, and he'll.
Oh, wow.
He's looking away from the treats. And so we talk about matches and lighters. And if you see something, that's just adults are supposed to have those and you're not supposed to touch them. So like leave it, and I'll tell him leave it, and he looks away and
oh my God.
So cute. It's really fun. It's so cute. So he's doing all the little fire safety stuff with me as well. But he's with me part-time just because he's so, happy. He's so young. So he's not with me full-time. But if you see us out in the community, please come say hi. People see a person with a badge and then a dog in a vest, and I think they often assume that he's a working dog, and so you're not supposed to ever say hi.
Right.
But he's here for us, so it's kind of interesting seeing how we're going to utilize him in the community. So he's to the first responders, but also I've been able to take him into some different locations where I think it's been beneficial for the people that we've seen as well. That's for anybody who just wants to pet a cute dog, it's cool.
What kind of dog is he?
He's a golden doodle.
Okay.
Standard
I wonder.
So which is nice because he doesn't shed all over my food.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's been really fun. So it was neat because I had this dog. He was our pet, and that's primarily therapy dogs within fire service. What I'm hearing from different handlers across the country, because it is really taking off right now, is that typically it'll start with a member who's interested in it, who has a dog with the right temperament, because that's kind of the biggest thing. And I've got to give a little shout out. Camilla McCullough with Blue Creek Canine. She helped train him.
Oh, okay.
And she volunteered her time to help get the training done because she came and met us and said, "You guys are a little high strung. I feel like this would benefit everybody." And so she offered.
She a little high strung.
I'm like,
yeah. Here's a dog.
Yeah, especially me. But anyways,
I might eat a dog now.
I'm sure my cats would enjoy
with your luck, you'll end up getting one who's just like really hyper and
all the time. I always get the most neurotic dog when I do get a dog. Travis knows.
But and it's been fun. So I also get to do that. It'll be funny when I go on an inspection sometimes and people have seen him and I'll have some contractors say, "Where's the dog?" And I tell him, "I know we had rooftop units to look at and he's not good at ladders. Like he can't climb a ladder very well." Oh, we didn't bring him, but
so the dog. So who is the actual owner of the dog?
So he's mine. He started
So
as my pet.
Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep,
okay.
he's my pet. And then all of his like costs and all of that, it's just something that I take care of because he's my pet. So
okay.
it's a very low impact in terms of anything required from the department, but they've been just really supportive to allow that program to start taking place. And my hope is that he's the first of a few. I would really love it if there were other handlers, both in suppression or on the day shift within the department, who had the right dog and were in the right position, that there's potential for it to expand and to have a couple more. Talking to West Metro Fire in Denver, most of their handlers are suppression. They don't go on calls, they don't go on the fire engines, but anyway, it's in its infancy and we're seeing how it'll work out, but utilizing him as that community outreach, that public education, that's been pretty
especially
cool.
with the kids.
Yeah.
It just kind of breaks that barrier because they probably look at your uniform and like, oh, you know what I mean? Because I mean, that's how I am when I see
way more
uniform.
Right.
Be good. But if you see a cute little dog, it's like, oh.
They're way more interested in the dog than me. And then I show up places where they knew there was a dog and they're like, where's the dog?
Right, where's the dog?
And
I see here for the dog.
I'm sorry.
Where's Winston? That's awesome.
He's cooler than me, so I get it.
Yeah. So can you share like a memorable experience in your time with the fire department? Was there something that maybe an event or just maybe a combination of events that really like sticks with you?
I just think I think the career in general is amazing.
Yeah.
It's been an absolute gift working for Billings Fire. I worked at Station 4 for a long time with a crew who I got really close with. My captain was super dumb and decided he wanted to retire, which I was not cool with when he left. But it's such a unique environment to work with people for when you're on suppression, particularly for 24-hour periods, right? Where you literally are going to rely on each other for life safety at certain points. And we'll all pool some money and go together and go buy a meal at 6 p.m. buy ingredients and then cook a dinner together when we're not running calls, when it comes to that time. And it's amazing. Like I think about the things that I was able to do with that crew, the things that I went on, like I delivered a baby in the back of an ambulance, right?
What?
So cool. Best thing ever. We got to help do that.
That's a huge
They let me like play catch. So I was able to help with that baby while the paramedics were taking care of mama and stuff. So that was pretty cool.
Oh my gosh.
So I've had that experience, doing CPRs and having somebody show up a year later, like, hey, it's 1 year anniversary. Thanks for the CPR. It's amazing. Or being with people when it is that worst day and where somebody passes, but being invited in, I actually view it as being an absolute honor and privilege to be in a position where people call you because they need help and they're looking to you for that. So whether or not you have the outcome that you're wanting, or whether or not you're just there as an extra source of help and comfort and support for people when they're having that worst day, it's just the most beautiful thing.
That's awesome. Oh my God. I could not even imagine the experience of helping somebody like have a baby.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Well, I remember that shift. So I really wanted to be part of that. It was one of those things that I wanted to do, right? And I was with a couple of medics who were really good paramedics. So there's some people don't know this either. EMT and paramedic, not the same thing. Right?
Okay.
So to a much lower extent, it's like a nurse versus doctor, right? So as an EMT, we are thoroughly trained in stopping a bleed and CPR and basic airway management. And like we have a whole host of skills, things we can help deliver certain medications. But as a paramedic, medics, which is that next level of care. They can intubate people and start IVs and reinflate a lung and deliver medications, and there's like narcotics and everything. There's a whole different skill set. So there were 2 medics in the ambulance, and they were both male, and neither of them had a child or had been part of a birth yet. They hadn't done that yet.
Geez.
And this woman, she was frantic, right? And just nervous about what was going on, and not the plan to ever deliver a baby in an ambulance on the side of the road, I don't think. And this was some years ago, but no. I think I had delivered 3 babies myself. I had 3 babies at that point, and so was just interested to be part of that process. And so it was really nice that I had that higher level of care with me, those paramedics who had more medical knowledge than I did, but then I was able to help comfort that mom.
Right.
And help her. And it was fascinating, and everything. It was a lovely outcome, right? Baby was healthy. And
do you like keep tabs on this baby? Like, do you
I have no idea. I have no idea. I don't know how it turned out, but she was beautiful and healthy, and it was interesting. So you don't ever deliver a baby in a moving ambulance, right? But the goal is to get mom to hospital before she delivers. So we're going, and then I was watching and became very apparent that was not going to happen, and so we pull over and
I always wondered that. Like, do you keep driving?
No, we don't drive during delivery. We stop.
Oh, the bumps and
Stop for delivery, and then get rolling again. So
speaking of ambulances, so I've noticed, and I just want to throw this out there. Have you been noticing the lack of people pulling to the side lately with fire trucks and ambulances? Because I see it as a person that's driving. I'm like, you need to pull over.
It happens, yeah. So I haven't been on the street for a couple of years, so I don't know if it's gotten any worse. But I think our citizens do a pretty good job, but sometimes people are. So it's just always a good reminder. Always a good reminder to pay attention.
But I did hear if there's like a median in the middle of the road, and they're like, say they're coming this way and you're going this way, and there's like a big median, you don't have to pull the side. Is that correct?
Yeah, typically, yeah. If there's a median,
because they're not gonna go.
If there's ever any doubt,
just pull
over. Yeah, because sometimes every once in a while the vehicle will have to come in oncoming traffic. I think if you have any doubt that just wait, just pull over and
if you're in doubt,
give us space.
Pull over. Move over for the people so they can save some lives. So how do you guys collaborate with other emergency services?
Oh, so we work together all the time.
Yeah.
School shootings, right? That's the thing. Oh. So there's been this really good development within the emergency services in the country where they're allowing fire and EMS to come into we call the warm zone, where we now have on our engines bulletproof vests and helmets and little medical packs with quick access things. And so we train together with the police on that rescue task force stuff so that we know how to do that. We train together, our drone teams train together. So we have some different drones, and I'm not on that team, so I can't speak to it thoroughly, but we do that. We train together all the time.
That's awesome.
I think emergency services in general are really good about understanding that we don't all have all of the tools or all of the skill set that we need. And so we lean on each other. I was actually just a couple of days ago at a leadership conference with the Chief Banfield and Captain McCamley, and then Chief St. John's was there, and we were talking about stuff. And he had said that we have this healthy sibling rivalry, but that there's a significant amount of respect between our departments. We work really well. I was talking to a friend from out of state who said that they have like kind of an intense rivalry going on. And we love our cops. Like, we get along really well with the officers. I think we, we're always going to tease each other.
Yeah.
But we care about it's just about taking care of the community the best way we can.
Yeah. You
so
all
those
have
collaborations
goal, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So those collaborations are important to us.
Yeah.
That relationship's important.
Yeah,
for sure. And we partner with Lockwood Fire. I know we've had Lockwood Fire, they have their own ambulances and they do transport. And there have been times where they've come into Billings to help us out, or there have been times where we've sent fire trucks out there to help with the structure fire, since we have more units available for that at any given time. And so we look out for each other.
Collaborate with each other. That's
awesome.
I love that. Okay, this is a great one. How do you, because you're a mom.
Yeah.
I'm a mom. You 3 kids, right?
Yes.
I also have 3 kids.
Yeah.
how do you balance as what you do? Because it sounds like your job is intense. How do you balance life and work?
I feel like I just don't do anything super well. No,
That same.
Maybe months of work and you're like, I would be such a great mom if that's all I did.
Yeah.
But I probably, it's still just, everything's a balance. I think you just, I've got a great support system.
Yeah.
I've got a phenomenal husband and friends and support and great kids. But this is what we do.
Yeah,
we just figure it out. We make it work.
Yeah, make it work because we love it. And like, do your kids ever say, "Mom"? Like, do they ever like watch movies with fire trucks and say, "Mom, that's my mom," or "That's my"? Do they understand what you do?
Oh, they do. Yeah, I mean, they're old. My baby just turned 10.
Okay.
My youngest, so they're older. But actually, this said baby said to me the other day, because now I'm in the suppression bureau instead of riding the fire engine. She said, "Are you ever going to be a real firefighter again?"
Oh, geez.
I was like, "Oh, okay, I'm a real firefighter."
Those kids are good at being
Oh,
brutal.
Yeah, no, but they like it. It's cool because one of the schools that I inspect is her school. So
Oh, really?
it's fun for her when I show up to the school inspections.
And is she embarrassed or is she like, "That's
no, she loves it.
Okay.
Or I went and helped teach basic fire science in the honors and AP chemistry classes at West High School with Cameron McKemlick from the fire department, and that's super fun. Those teachers are awesome. But I actually my sophomore daughter and then my junior stepdaughter were both in those classes, and so it was kind of fun seeing them. They're always, I think they like it mostly. But
I love that. I love that. Well, I just want to say thank you for what you do for our community, because I mean, I couldn't imagine doing what you guys do. Like, I really could. The stuff that you see and the challenges and yeah. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So one more question for you.
Yeah.
What are the most common misconceptions about what you do?
Oh, in fire marshal specifically, I made that joke earlier about fire police, but it's
yeah. You're not there to like make someone mad or
no. Our office is really good about working with people to just make sure that we get things corrected that need to be corrected. Yeah. I think there can be that misconception, particularly about that office, where people think
you're the bad guys, you're the hall monitors.
Right. Or periodically I'll have, go on an investigation, and again, I've never had a structure fire. I've never had a home fire. My heart goes out to people who end up experiencing that, because it's a loss. It's devastating.
Huge loss.
It's devastating sometimes when that happens. And so I think we've had people ask us before when we're doing investigations if they're going to get a bill for the investigation, or like they then are nervous about that, which that's not something that people get billed for, right?
Okay.
Like, that's a service that you pay for through your taxes that we then go through and do that. So if you have any questions about things, like anybody, if you guys need any information about anything or have any questions about the smoke alarm program or anything, please feel free to reach out and call. We have open communication. Yeah,
that's awesome. Okay, I said that was the last question, but I do have one more. So if someone's watching, maybe a kid's watching, I doubt it. They're in school, hopefully. If they are thinking about a career in firefighting or what you do, what's your biggest advice for them on how to start?
Oh, it's just, so for me, having come in so late, if you're interested in it, just go for it.
Yeah.
Right. And it was one of the best decisions I ever made, was entering the profession. It's been so rewarding and just exactly what I kind of hoped that it would be. I want anybody who has any questions about it to reach out and ask for help. The biggest suggestion is just to start as soon as you can, to start heading down that path. You need to have your EMT to be a firefighter. So for education, EMT is required with anywhere that you go to. Try to find volunteer experiences before you look to go to a department full time, right? Like, there's
try it out, right?
Yeah, exactly, to see if it matches your skill set. You can go get your EMT somewhere here in town locally or whatever. There's Big Sky EMS who does that education here in town, is who does that. Physically, there's a lot of people get intimidated by the physical test. At Billings Fire, we use the CPAT is the test. So candidate physical ability test, we use so many acronyms. So sometimes I'll say them, be like, do you remember what that acronym stands for? It's a CPAP. But essentially, you're putting on between 50 and 75 pounds of weight on your body. And then you're on a stair stepper at 60 steps a minute it ends up with the warm up and the different weight variations being about 3.5 minutes, right?
Holy cow.
And then you take the extra 25 pounds off. So you're wearing 50 pounds and you run through a series of practical things, right? So people always think that sounds really scary and intimidating, especially women get really intimidated by that, but it's squats and cardio, man. So my best advice, if you're interested, go look at the CPAP video. But then try it. Just was telling you, just try it. Well, I told somebody this just last week. I was like, before your workout, put on 75 pounds and get on the stair stepper for 3.5 minutes right before your workout. You have to physically train for that specific thing. Like, because we do, and it simulates the job, right? Like on a fire scene, we're wearing all this extra gear and we're just doing that steady, solid work. And so I think it's a decent metric to make sure that you're ready for that. But yeah, if you're interested and you're curious about the physical, you can reach out to anybody at the fire department to find out some just different tips for you specifically to train. But I would recommend just putting weight on and climbing some stairs. So
wow, that sounds like that could be like an exercise video, right? Like a training, like train like a fireman. What is it? Travis says, I bet my next paycheck Billy tries that physical test. He knows me too much.
That would be great. I would love that.
I'm already thinking, Travis, you know me. Like, I'm like, ooh, I might try that to see if I can do it. I'm always challenging myself, but
good for you.
Yeah, but no, I think that'd be a good idea. I'm sure it's out there. I bet you if we YouTube it, there's probably some sort of firefighter workout or something.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
So it looks like we have another comment. Alan, do you know Alan?
I know Alan.
You know Alan?
So Alan Lohoff, he was a captain with Billings Fire for a long time. And actually, he and I worked out together at the Y.
Oh, okay.
Before I started, and we had some conversations about the career and my interest, and he was just my mentor. He helped me get started. Thanks, Al.
That's very cool. So he says, let me see if I can read it here. Hi, Winston. Becky, what's something that you wish the public knew about firefighters?
Well, I don't know how important this is, but I think people probably know there's like a lot of, I don't know if people know this or not, there's a lot of camaraderie and practical joking that goes on within the fire department in our free time. So in my office, and anybody listening from my office can hear this, so there's a couple of fans of the Miami Dolphins.
I know one of them. He's watching.
There's a couple of them. And we just give each other, there's either practical jokes or we just like rag on each other all the time. So I went up to the desk. They have this little shrine that these Miami Dolphin fans have put up. There's a lunchbox and a bobblehead and a little, I don't even know. There's all this stuff. And I went up and put my computer and I knocked the Dan Marino bobblehead off the desk. And then that night, the Dolphins, who've been doing very well, did not do so well. And I don't think I'm ever going to hear the end of it. And then I was told when I came here today, Billy's a Bears fan. If she has any Chicago Bears fans, try to not just like drop kick them off of the table. If you would, that would be great. So anyways, we give each other this stuff, or somebody in the fire department, and none of us in our office know who it is, but somebody bought like all these little ducks. Have you seen this on the internet, the little tiny ducks?
Yes.
And they just leave them places.
Yes.
And our office is pretty secure. And it's funny to me that we don't know who it is who's left them in my cubicle, and all over the fire station. These little ducks are getting left. So I have this little army of like little 6 tiny ducks now that I keep finding like in my plant.
That's funny.
I love them. They're so cute. I have this little army of ducks. But I could go on and on about the stories, and we have certain stories and things that we do. But it's just a fun environment. It's like a big old crazy family.
Yeah.
And we drive each other crazy sometimes, and we razz each other and we push each other to do better and
That's
to
awesome.
train harder. Yeah.
I love that. See, I love that environment, just where you can kind of joke around with each other, not take things so seriously.
Yeah.
Because your guys' job is serious.
Yeah.
You gotta have some fun with it, right?
For sure. Yeah.
And whoever said that about the Bears, thank you, because the Bears suck. They need need all the help they can get. So please don't knock anything over the stairs. Travis is Becky not referring to herself as Satan while telling the story.
I don't have anything against Dan Marino or the Dolphins. It was an accident. You know, I talk with my hands.
Sorry. I love it so much. This has been great. Thank you so much for saying yes to this. And thank you, Travis, who's watching, for giving me Becky's name. I learned a lot today. And I really respect what you guys do.
Oh, thank you so much for your support. Billings is awesome.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And have a happy holiday. Yes.
You too.
Yes.
And all of you.
Yes. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks, Ellen, for watching and your comments. Thanks for getting her into the industry, right?
Yeah.
All right. We'll see you guys later.